So the CBC deleted Donald Trump's cameo from its broadcast of Home Alone 2 on Canadian television. Are you trying to start a war? Because this is how you start a war. Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and no, this is not my new office. It is holiday season, which means it is family time, and I'm in a house filled with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kids. There are 11 kids in this house. 2 dogs, and I don't know, there's a few parents, I hope, because I left all the kids alone. The lighting is terrible. This is going to be sort of like the Blair Witch Project of vlogs, and I'm also a little under the weather, so I don't look too good to begin with. The CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, removed the cameo of Donald Trump in its broadcast of Home Alone 2 on national television. And once again, Canada has become the international butt of jokes, and rightly so. The internet went wild. Pundits were pundifying that TDS, that is Trump Derangement Syndrome, had reached a new low. So much so that the CBC felt morally compelled to actually delete Donald Trump's existence from the broadcast of Home Alone 2 on Canadian television. And there are just so many things that are wrong with this entire story. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is a crown corporation. It is funded by the federal government to the tune of $1.5 billion annually. And their federal funding was increased in the order of $400 million under the current administration, the Liberal administration, under the under the power of Justin Trudeau. The CBC is the Crown Media Corporation, and I've done a few videos on the CBC in the past, specifically when I was talking about whether or not there was corruption in Canadian politics. Wait, was it Canadian politics or Canadian media? Alright, it was in the media. It was in the media. Man, I should really do a better job remembering my own videos. Now, the CBC is the Crown Media Corporation, which means that although it is supposed to be independent from, it is nonetheless owned by the Crown. The Crown being the Canadian government. And there have been accusations of partisanship within the CBC for a long time, and accusations of partisanship within the CBC have been rampant, and the CBC has done nothing to help the situation. On the contrary, their specific behavior has only exacerbated, if not outright confirmed, partisanship within the CBC. And just to read the minds of some of you out there, it is not itself a sign of bias to identify and confirm bias in another institution or individual. The CBC confirmed its own bias when it sued the Conservative Party of Canada for using some of its news clips in political campaign ads in the weeks leading up to the federal elections. And why do I say that this confirms the political bias of the CBC? Well, it turns out that they didn't do the exact same thing when the Liberal government used clips of their media coverage in the election from 4 years ago. Political bias being the same set of facts but different treatment depending on the political affiliation of the other entity. Now, in Canada, there is in fact a heated debate as to whether or not the federal government should even be funding media organizations in the first place. And the reasons are obvious. You wouldn't bite the hand that feeds you, so you wouldn't necessarily have media organizations criticizing the very government that is funding them in the first place. People tend to be very nice and polite to other people when their very existence depends on those other people. So the CBC broadcasts Home Alone 2 this Christmas season and deletes the scene, the cameo of Donald Trump, the best scene of the movie. I am joking. Nothing in that movie was good. And yet we're going to have to watch it for a third time with the kids because they just want to keep... Now, in total fairness to the CBC, their explanation is that they only deleted Donald Trump's cameo to ensure that Home Alone 2 would fit within the 2-hour allotment that they had on television for that movie. Donald Trump's cameo counted all of 8 seconds, and yes, I did count it. The other explanation is that the CBC in fact did this back in 2015, so it's not confirmation of TDS at all. They did it back in 2015. December 2015. 6 months after Donald Trump announced that he was running for president. 2015. So those are the explanations, and being a reasonably critical thinker, I'm not buying them. Given the CBC's history of partisan conduct, and if I forgot to link the video, I'll link it right here, when the CBC was suing the Conservative government, give it a watch, it's a good one. I don't believe that this wasn't a deliberate, in-your-face act by the CBC. But that is just my personal opinion, and we all know what they say about opinions. They're like buttholes. Everybody's got one. And nobody likes having someone else rub theirs in their face. Back to the video. Now, this conduct of CBC actually brings in some pretty interesting questions of law. Broadcasters have broadcasting rights. Those are one of the rights that they have to reproduce a copyright-protected work. But the right to broadcast, I presume, does not include the right to make substantive edits to the original work itself. Now, full disclosure, I am by no means a specialist on this subject matter. I am merely pontificating out loud. Presumably, the right to broadcast an original work does not include the right to make substantive edits to that original work. Now, obviously, when you air something on television, you may have to make certain edits or modifications for the purpose of censoring bad words that can't be aired on primetime television. And you're going to have to make room for ads, which means that you might actually have to shorten the movie to get it to fit into a 2-hour time slot given all of the advertiser space. But I do not for 1 second believe that they were 8 seconds short and had to remove Donald Trump's cameo in order to fit within their time slot. And if I own the rights to that movie, I might actually be very angry if they remove what I consider to be one of the key cameos in the movie. Hey, CBC, why did you remove the cameo of Donald Trump, President of the United States? Alrighty, it appears as though the dog has pooped in the kitchen. Hey CBC, why did you remove the cameo of Donald Trump, current president of the United States and most powerful person on the planet? Oh, we were 8 seconds short for our 2-hour allotted time slot, even though we own the time slot, and that was the only part we could remove from the movie without making a difference to the movie. It's up to you if you believe that explanation, but I don't believe that explanation. And from the political side of things, can you imagine having a crown corporation engaging in conduct that could actually compromise or at the very least ruffle international relations? The Liberal administration's CBC unpersoning Donald Trump from their broadcast of Home Alone 2 for whatever the reason. For all the bad things that people think of Donald Trump, that he's a narcissist, a megalomaniac, that he's dangerous, removing him from a movie might ruffle his feathers the wrong way. It might not be the type of thing you want to do if you actually think someone is a dangerous narcissist. But above all else, we have a crown corporation engaging in conduct that can sour international relationships. Not to mention potential breach of broadcasting rights. I don't know what they are, and I would love to see the contract to see if they actually had the right to make this type of edit. But they could, in theory, be breaching their broadcast rights by substantively modifying the work which they have the authorization to broadcast. Anyhow, all that to say, I think the POTUS has bigger fish to fry, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do see something on his Twitter feed tonight or tomorrow. And with that, I had better get down to the kitchen and clean up Pudge's poo and go back to parenting because I could be getting in trouble for this as we speak and not know about it at all. If you like my video and you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below if you want to support the channel. All support links are in the pinned comment, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah.